The U.S. plans to send M1 Abrams tanks to Ukraine, officials say. The announcement, expected as early as Wednesday, comes as Germany appears close to sending Leopard 2 tanks, opening the way for other countries in Europe. They poured their savings into homes that were never built. What is it like to pour your life savings into apartments that might never get built? 18 Age Ago. By Isabel Kahn and Agnes Chang. Russia's war breathes new life into a Cold War symbol. Radio Free Europe Radio Liberty, a news network originally set up as a CIA operation early in the Cold War, is experiencing a renaissance and making a case for its independence. 5 Age Ago. By Martina Stevesgridneff. Chris Hipkins, New Zealand's new leader, hopes to put Ardern behind him. Mr. Hipkins, who was sworn in on Wednesday, has 9 months to persuade voters who cooled on Jacinda Ardern's government that he's a fresh alternative. 10 Age Ago. By Natasha Frost. The Apennine brown bear named Juan Corrido was fatally hit by a car on Monday evening. Juan Corrido, Italy's beloved brown bear, dies in traffic accident. Eastern European agricultural workers picking cabbage in fields belonging to Naylor Farms this month near Boston, England. For British farmers, the effects of Brexit have become clearer. The price of eggs has skyrocketed in Egypt. For many, they are now considered a luxury. Inflation is so high in Egypt that eggs are a luxury. A fresco depicting the infant Hercules strangling a snake, which dates to the 1st century, is believed to have been looted from Herculaneum and was tracked by investigators to the apartment of a prominent New York venture capitalist and a major ancient art collector. $20 million worth of looted art returns to Italy from the U.S. Police officers after recovering the bodies of Bruno Pereira and Dom Phillips last year in Atalaia do Norte, Brazil. Mastermind behind Amazon murders of journalist and activist is caught, police say. Laying flowers at the statue of the Ukrainian poet and writer Lsya Ukrainka in Moscow, in memoriam to those killed by a Russian missile strike in Dnipro, Ukraine, this month. In Moscow, a quiet anti-war protest with flowers and plush toys. A street dance competition in Honiara's Chinatown, Solomon Islands. Messages graffitied on a burned building criticize the Chinese presence in the country, and urge Prime Minister Manasseh Sogavare to step down. China's mad dash into a strategic island nation breeds resentment. A market in Islamabad, Pakistan, during a nationwide power outage on Monday. Power outage sweeps Pakistan, dropping millions into darkness. Genaro Garcia Luna led Mexico's version of the FBI before becoming the country's public security secretary, a cabinet-level position. Mexican ex-lawman took money from cartels he pursued, prosecutors say. Aryeh Deri, left, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this month in Jerusalem. Mr. Deri's support is key to the survival of the coalition government. Netanyahu fires a top minister to comply with a Supreme Court ruling. The Saturday Profile. More in the Saturday Profile. Mariam Ouedraogo won the Bayo Calvados Normandy Award for her series reporting on Burkina Faso's devastating conflict against armed jihadist groups and the suffering the fighting has inflicted on the country's women and girls. For reporter, trauma comes with exposing ugly truths of a brutal conflict. The author Yuan Sung Chen at her home in Hong Kong in July. Her latest book is The Secret Listener, an ingenue in Mao's court. She witnessed Mao's worst excesses. Now she has a warning for the world. Eugenia Carbo in Freetown's Congo Market, by the newly installed market canopies. She is Africa's first heat officer. Can she make her city livable? Mani Soliman Liu at his home in Montreal in November. A cop called Coco, an actor named Mani, a coupisser exploring Quebec. Thomas Halden Wang, Germany's domestic intelligence chief, at Hambach Castle in Neustadt, Germany. His job description? Protecting German democracy. Literally. Dispatches. Construction of the Defun bunker in 1960. Cold War nuclear bunker lures tourists worried about new threats. The cave village of Janini in Tunisia's southern desert. Tunisian cave village empties out in face of drought and modernity's draw. The entrance to Park Ubud in Bali, which has become a popular place to live and work for the Russians and Ukrainians who have fled to Indonesia. I'm sorry, we're from Moscow. In Bali, warring sides learn to cohabitate. Renato Tomasetti and Bella after she found a truffle. Black gold, Mr. Tomasetti said. Hunting for truffles is a perilous pursuit, especially for the dogs who dig. Uliana Kaikenko, a freelance marketing manager, works from a table in a co-working space set up in Epicenter, a department store in Ukraine's capital, Kyiv. Come on in, the internet is fine, Kyiv workers get online in unlikely spots. The failure of that plan led to the expansion of drilling in Block 43. Ecuador trato de frenar la extracción de petróleo y proteger la Amazonia, pero sucedió lo contrario. Visual investigations. Imagery shows how a cemetery for Russian mercenaries is expanding. Recent satellite imagery and video footage offer a rare look at combat fatalities sustained by the Wagner mercenary group in Ukraine. By Christian Trebert and Dmitry Kavin. January 24, 2023. U.S. plans to send Abrams tanks to Ukraine, officials say. The Biden administration had resisted sending tanks, which Ukraine says it needs, but the move is seen as likely to push Germany to approve the transfer of its own tanks. By Helene Cooper and Eric Schmidt. January 24, 2023. Ukraine fires officials amid corruption scandal, as allies watch closely. As it fights Russia's invasion, Ukraine depends for its survival on aid from Western nations, which have concerns about endemic graft and how the money is used. By Michael Schwartz and Maria Varanikova. January 24, 2023. 2022 was a deadly year for journalists, especially in Latin America. There were nearly as many journalists killed in Mexico alone as there were in Ukraine. By Eric Nagorny. Lear en Español. January 24, 2023. Your Wednesday briefing, Ukraine cracks down on corruption. Also, another mass shooting in California and New Zealand's next leader. By Amelia Nierenberg. January 24, 2023. The Sierra Club tries to move past John Muir, George Floyd and #Me Too. After a public reckoning and the departure of its executive director, the nation's largest environmental organization has tapped Ben Jealous as its new leader. By David Gels. January 24, 2023. Pentagon will increase artillery production six-fold for Ukraine. The Army's top acquisition official says production of the 155mm shells badly needed by Kyiv will rise to 90,000 a month in 2 years. By Jonas May and Eric Lipton. January 24, 2023. Poland asks Germany's permission to send its Leopard tanks to Ukraine. Germany says it will decide shortly on whether to send advanced tanks to Kyiv, which has been pleading for such equipment for months. By Matthew Mpokbig. January 24, 2023.